I want to tell you about 3 people who went into the woods and came back wrong, or didn't come back at all. These aren't just stories, they're warnings, because when you get lost in the forest, something else finds you, something that was already there, something that was waiting. My name is Ethan Cole, or it was. I'm not sure who I am anymore, or what I am. This was back in 2019. I just started working for the U.S. Forest Service as a cartographic surveyor. My job was updating old maps using modern GPS technology. Boring work, but it paid well. They sent me to remote areas where satellite imagery was unreliable or outdated. In August, I got an assignment in the northern woods of Maine, 50,000 acres of essentially uncharted territory. The locals called it the Hollow Reach. There was no official reason for the name, but lumberjacks and hunters had avoided it for decades. No proper survey had been done since the 1940s. My supervisor, Marcus, warned me before I left. "Ethan, those maps are from 1943, made during WW2 for emergency lumber supply. Nobody's been back there since. Just remember, if something feels off, you turn around. GPS glitches out there. Compass doesn't work right. Trust your eyes and your gut. Nothing else." I laughed it off. "I don't believe in ghosts, Marcus." Marcus wasn't laughing. "Neither do I, but something's out there. Something wrong." I set out with 3 days of supplies, 72 hours to cover 15 square miles. Tent, sleeping. Bag, 3 days of rations. GPS for backup, compass, binoculars, rifle, .308 for bears, and my survey notebook. The first day was normal. Dense pine forest, old growth. Some of those trees looked 300 years old. Their height made me dizzy if I looked up too long. The ground was soft, decades of pine needles packed down. Walking felt like stepping on an old carpet. I made camp in a clearing that evening. According to the map, there should have been a new, old logging road there. But there was nothing, just more forest. I figured the map was outdated. Vegetation had overgrown everything. That night, I heard something, distant, rhythmic, thump, 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 like someone beating a massive drum, or something heavy striking the ground. I stepped outside my tent, turned on my flashlight. Nothing, just darkness and trees. "Hello?" I called out. The response was silence, but it was the wrong kind of silence. Forests always have noise. Crickets, owls, wind in the branches. But here, nothing. Dead silence. Like someone had pressed a mute button on the world. I went back inside, couldn't sleep. Just that sound, and a feeling, like something was watching from outside. Breathing, slow, heavy. I held my rifle until 2 a.m. Then suddenly, the silence broke. Normal forest sounds returned. Crickets, wind. I told myself it was imagination, fatigue. But when I woke up the next morning, 10 feet from my tent, there were marks in the ground, deep indentations, 2 feet wide, oval-shaped, 6 feet apart. Footprints, but that big and that flat, like something walking barefoot. But with the weight of metric tons, I continued my work the second day. The GPS was glitching, coordinates jumping around. The compass was worse. North changed every 10 minutes. I decided to navigate by landmarks alone, like the old surveyors used to. Around midday, I noticed something strange about the trees. Their arrangement, linear, like they'd been planted. But this was old growth, natural. Then I understood. This was a road, an old logging road. Overgrown, but the trees formed a pattern between them. I followed that pattern for 2 miles. Then, the road ended. But there was something. At first I thought it was a rock formation, but as I got closer, it wasn't stone. It was concrete, man-made. A building, 20 by 20 feet, walls 10 feet high, no roof. One entrance, a narrow doorway, 4 feet wide, 7 feet high. I went inside. There was equipment inside, old 1940s era, rusted typewriters, file cabinets, and in the center, a table with a map spread across it, my map. from 2019 with GPS coordinates in my handwriting. I froze. This was impossible. I'd made this map 2 days ago. How was it here? Then I noticed. Under my map, there were other layers, older maps, from 1943, the 1950s, the 1960s, every decade. And on every map, there were marks, red ink, X's, dozens of them. Next to each X was a date and a name. J. Miller, 8/14/1943. S. Thompson, 9/2/1947. M. Garcia, 7/30/1955. E. Cole, 8/2019. My name, my date, incomplete. Turned around. There was something in the doorway. A shadow. Tall. So tall. 9 feet, maybe 10. Shoulders, wide. Arms, long. Too long. Fingers, longer than my hands. And the face. I didn't see the face, because it was wearing something on its face. A mask? No. Skin, like skin from something else. Deer, bear, human, a mixture, stitched together, fresh, blood still dripping. It wasn't moving, just watching, like it was curious, like I was something new. I raised my rifle, aimed. Get back. It tilted its head, 45 degrees, like a dog when it doesn't understand. I fired, direct hit. Chest. It staggered, stepped back. Then, it laughed. No sound, just the movement of its shoulders. Like it was trying to laugh, but it didn't have vocal cords. Or maybe different ones. I ran. Through the doorway, into the jungle. Branches whipped my face. My arms were covered in scratches, blood. But I didn't stop. Didn't dare look back. But I heard it, following, slow, confident, like it knew where I was going, like it had played this game before, many times. I ran for an hour, 2 hours. My stamina was failing, but it never seemed to tire, always behind me, always 50 feet back. I found a stream, drank water, caught my breath, looked back. It was on the other side of the stream, standing motionless, watching me through the trees, like it was memorizing me, my face, my fear. I noticed something. It wouldn't cross the water. The stream was only 10 feet wide, shallow, but it stood at the edge. I thought, water? A weakness? But I wasn't going to test it. I followed the stream upstream, toward the mountains. Evening came, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. I was exhausted, but I couldn't stop. Stopping at night meant being with it. I didn't want that. At 9 p.m. it was dark. I used my flashlight, but it could see in the dark. I could see its eyes, reflective, animal-like, 50 feet back, always 50 feet. I found a cave, small, but there was a way inside. I squeezed in, 10 feet deep. It couldn't follow. Too big. I spent the night there, cold, wet, but safe, I thought. At 5 a.m. I emerged. First light. It was gone, but there were marks on the ground, dozens of them, around the cave, like frustration, like a child who couldn't reach its toy. I thought I'd escaped. I was wrong. I headed back, south, toward base camp. The GPS was working now, the compass too. Like the thing's presence messed with electronics. It took 3 days to get back, 3 days that felt like 3 years. Jumping at every sound, doubting every shadow. When I reached base camp, no one was there. Marcus wasn't there. The team wasn't there. Just a note on the windshield. Ethan, it's been 5 days. Sent search party. They didn't come back. Reported to police. If you get back, call me immediately. Marcus. 5 days? I'd only been out there for 3 days. But my watch, my phone, everything showed 5 days. Where were those 2 days? Then I remembered. The building, the map, my name. 2 days there. But how? It felt like 2 hours. I called Marcus, his voice, shocked. Ethan, you're alive? Where were you? I searched for you out there myself. Where? I asked. That building, the old survey station. Found your stuff there. Blood, lots of it. But you weren't there. Something else was. Writing on the walls. What did it say? Marcus's voice trembled. He's learning to be Ethan. I dropped the phone. My mouth went dry. I looked at my hand, left hand. There was a scar on my wrist. New, 2 days old. But I'd never seen this scar before. Then I took off my shirt. On my chest, 3 marks, claw marks, healing. But I'd shot it with the rifle. It never touched me. Did it, or did it those 2 days? That missing time. What was I? Who was I? I went home. 2 weeks later, started therapy. PTSD diagnosis. But I know it's not just PTSD. At night, I hear sounds. Thump, thump, thump. Outside. Outside my window. 3rd floor. Impossible. But it believes in impossible things. And when I look in the mirror, sometimes I'm not me. I'm it. Like it's looking through my eyes. Yesterday, I noticed my height. I'd always been 5'10". Now, I'm 6 narrow, 2 inches. In 2 months, I'm changing. Or it's making me. And today I found blood in my kitchen. In the fridge. In a container. Fresh. Not mine. Someone else's. The label said, snack. Midnight. I know what I should do. But I can't stop. I'm hungry. A strange hunger. For raw meat. For raw anything. If you're reading this, if I manage to post this, then understand. It's inside me now. Little by little. More every day. And when I'm fully ready, I'll go back to that forest, to that building, to make new maps, add new names, yours too. My name is Silas Vane. I'm 34 years old, and I've spent the last 8 summers alone in a steel tower 100 feet above the forest floor. Fire watcher, the last of a dying breed. Satellites took most of our jobs, but there are still blind spots. Still places where human eyes see what algorithms miss. The Harrow Tower was built in 1932. Steel skeleton rising from the Bitterroot Wilderness in Montana. No roads lead to it. Just a 3-mile hike up the mountain. Supplies dropped by helicopter once a month. Otherwise, silence, solitude, the endless green ocean of pine, spruce, and fir stretching to every horizon. I loved it. The first 7 years anyway. In 2019, they offered me the season. I should have said no. I should have noticed that the other watchers, men I'd trained with, drank with, shared radio frequencies with, had all quit. One by one. Personal reasons. The files said, family emergencies, sudden changes of heart. I found out later. They'd all requested the same thing, never to be assigned north-facing towers again, never to watch the tree line after dark, never to look too long at the spaces between the trees. I didn't know. So I climbed the stairs on June 1st, carrying my month's supplies, my books, my binoculars, and my father's old hunting rifle. The tower waited for me. It always waited. The cab was 10 by 10 feet, windows on all 4 sides, 360 degrees of visibility, a narrow cot, a wood-burning stove for the cold Montana nights, a desk with the Osborne fire finder, a brass sighting device from the 1930s still used to pinpoint smoke locations. My routine was simple. Dawn to dusk, scan the quadrants, north, east, south, west, log anything unusual, weather changes, smoke, lightning strikes, aircraft, the occasional hiker where hikers shouldn't be, radio check every 4 hours with dispatch in Missoula. Harrow Tower, all clear. Copy that, Harrow, stay sharp. Nights were harder. The tower had no running water, no electricity, propane lamp and the stars. I'd read until my eyes burned, then sleep until the alarm at 5 a.m. Sometimes I'd wake at 3 a.m. anyway, convinced I'd heard something. The tower creaking in wind, expansion joints popping in temperature changes, normal sounds. I'd tell myself they were normal. The first 3 weeks of June were uneventful. I spotted 2 illegal campfires, called them in, watched rangers hike, up to extinguish them. I saw a grizzly once, fishing in the river 3 miles north. Magnificent, terrifying, but natural. Then came the night of June 24th. I woke at 2:47 a.m. I remember the time because I checked my watch immediately, heart pounding. Unsure why, the propane lamp had gone out. The cab was dark except for starlight through the windows, and there was a sound. Not wind, not animals, not the tower settling. A voice. Distant. Carried on the night air from somewhere in the forest below. Speaking words I couldn't understand. Not English, not any language I recognized. The rhythm was wrong. Syllables that shouldn't connect. Sounds human throats shouldn't make. I grabbed my flashlight. Shone it down through the north window. The beam caught nothing but trees. Dark shapes against darker background. I swept it left, to right, searching for the source. Nothing. Then, movement. Between two massive pines, approximately 80 feet from the tower base. Something upright. Something that stepped behind the tree as my light touched it. Too tall for a bear. Too thin for a moose. Wrong proportions for anything I knew. I grabbed the binoculars. Night vision. Expensive pair, my own, not government issue. I scanned the area where I'd seen movement. Nothing. Just trees. Then the voice again. Closer now, from the east window. I spun. The binoculars caught reflection. 2 points of light, low to the ground, 50 feet from the tower stairs. Eyes. Reflecting my own starlight back at me. Too far apart for any animal. Set too deep in a face that the darkness wouldn't reveal. I should have radioed it in. Protocol. Demanded it. Possible intruder, requesting assistance. But I didn't. I told myself it was a hiker, lost, confused, speaking to themselves in delirium. The eyes, a trick of light, reflection off water. Something. I lowered the binoculars. The eyes disappeared. The voice stopped. I sat in the dark until dawn, rifle across my knees, watching the forest reveal nothing in the growing light. It became routine. Every third night, the voice, always from a different direction, north, then east, then south, then west, circling, never the same location twice, never close enough to see clearly in daylight, never far enough to ignore. I started logging it. June 27th, 02:30 hours. Vocalization, southeast quadrant. Duration, 4 minutes, no visual confirmation. June 30th, 03:15 hours. Vocalization, west quadrant. Duration, 7 minutes. Eye shine observed. Estimated distance, 40 meters. Dispatch noticed. Harrow, you're reporting a lot of anomalies. Everything okay up there? Copy, dispatch. Just being thorough. Wildlife activity? Probably elk. Elk don't talk, Harrow. Copy. Will note as unidentified. I started sleeping during the day. Scanning at night. The thing, whatever it was, seemed more active in darkness. I wanted to see it. Needed to see it. To understand. July 4th. Independence Day. I was drinking cheap whiskey, watching the distant fireworks from some town 40 miles south. Tiny colored sparks above the horizon. The forest was silent. No voice that night. I almost relaxed. At 11:47 p.m., the Osborne firefinder moved. I was looking out the south window, the brass wheel, the sighting ring, the whole assembly. It rotated on its own. Slowly, deliberately, pointing north, pointing to the tree line, to the darkness between two specific pines I'd learned to recognize. I didn't touch it. I looked through the sight. There was a fire, small, controlled, exactly where I'd seen the eyes on June 24th. Orange flames maybe 3 feet high, burning in a perfect circle, and around it, figures, upright, human-shaped but wrong, too thin, too tall, arms too long. Heads that seemed to track the Osborne sight even at this distance. One of them raised an arm, pointed, not at the fire. At me, at the tower, at the window where I watched. The fire went out, not gradually, instantly, like a switch. Darkness rushed back in. The figures were gone, or invisible, or never there. I radioed it in. Dispatch Harrow, smoke sighting, north quadrant, possible illegal campfire. Extinguished before location could be confirmed. Copy, Harrow, you sound shook. Everything okay? Copy, dispatch, just tired, long season. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I watched the north tree line through binoculars until my eyes bled. Nothing. But the Osborne stayed pointed north. I couldn't move it. It was locked, frozen, as if the brass had fused to the steel table. July 15th, mid-season resupply. I heard the helicopter before I saw it, thumping up the valley. I was outside on the platform, waiting, grateful for human contact. The pilot was Jake Morrison. I'd met him twice before. Young guy, talkative, normal. He didn't get out of the cockpit. Just opened the side door, kicked out the supply crate, and gave me a thumbs up. I gave him the return signal, monthly logbooks, equipment requests, a letter to my sister I'd written 3 weeks ago and kept rewriting. Jake hesitated. He leaned out, shouting over the rotor wash. "Silas, you been using the emergency radio?" "What?" "No, why? We picked up a signal yesterday, on the old frequency, Harrow Tower calling Mayday. Voice didn't sound like you. Sounded wrong. We tried to raise you. Nothing. I didn't call anything in, Jake. Maybe interference. Atmospheric bounce. Yeah, maybe." He didn't look convinced. "Silas, you need anything? Want me to report anything? You can tell me." I almost did. I almost told him about the voice, the eyes, the fire, the figures. But what would I say? That I was seeing things? That I was cracking from isolation? They'd pull me out. End my career. Prove everyone right who said fire watching was job for crazy people. "I'm good, Jake. Just tired. See you in 2 weeks." He nodded, gave me a look I couldn't read. Pity? Fear? He pulled away, the helicopter banking hard, leaving faster than usual. I watched until the sound disappeared. Then I was alone again. I dragged the supply crate inside, opened it. Food, water, propane, batteries, and a radio, not the emergency. Beacon, a handheld, with a note in Jake's handwriting. Found this outside the crate. Not on manifest. Someone put it there. Check the frequency. I turned it on. Static. Then, a voice. My voice. Saying my words. From 3 nights ago. Just tired. Long season. Then another voice. Not mine. Speaking that wrong language. The one. From the forest. Responding. As if in conversation, the radio went dead. I checked the frequency. It wasn't any government channel. It wasn't any civilian band. The display showed 000. Impossible. Dead air. But I'd heard it. 2 voices. Mine. And something else. Talking, planning, becoming. My name is Caleb Mercer, and this happened in October of 2021 while I was hunting alone in the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania. I'd been hunting since I was a kid. My dad taught me everything: how to track deer, how to read the wind, how to move quietly through the woods. So being alone out there never bothered me. That day I parked my truck near an old logging road and hiked about 2 miles into the forest. The area was deep woods, no trails, no campsites, just miles of dense trees and rocky hills. Around 4 p.m., I finally spotted a decent buck near a small clearing. I lined up the shot, but the wind shifted and the deer bolted before I could pull the trigger. I sighed and checked the time. Sunset was coming soon, so I decided to start heading back. That's when I heard my name. Caleb. It was faint, distant. At first I thought it was another hunter, but something about it felt wrong. Nobody knew I was out there. I stood still, listening. The woods were quiet for about 10 seconds. Then I heard it again. Caleb. Same voice, same distance, but it sounded off, almost like someone trying to imitate a human voice but not quite getting it right. The tone was flat, no emotion, like someone reading a word they didn't understand. My stomach dropped. I slowly turned in the direction of the voice and raised my rifle. "Hello," I called out. No response, just wind moving through the trees. I started walking again, faster. This time, my truck was still about a mile away. After maybe 5 minutes of walking, I heard it again. This time it was much closer. Caleb. I stopped immediately. The voice had come from behind me, but I hadn't heard any footsteps. No branches snapping, nothing. The forest was dead quiet. I turned around and scanned the trees with my scope. Nothing, then something moved. about 30 yards away behind a thick oak tree. I only saw part of it for a second, a shoulder, maybe a head, but it was too tall, way too tall, at least 7 feet, and it was incredibly thin, like its arms and legs were way longer than they should be. The moment my scope pointed at the tree, the thing quickly stepped behind it, like it didn't want to be seen. My heart was pounding now. "Listen," I shouted. "I'm armed. Stay back." No answer. Then the voice spoke again, right behind the tree. "Chualeb." This time it stretched the name out slowly, like it was learning how to say it. That was enough for me. I turned and started walking fast toward my truck, not running, just fast. Because every hunter knows one thing. If something is stalking you in the woods, running can trigger it to chase. For about 10 minutes, I didn't hear anything. Then I heard footsteps. Behind me, heavy, slow, and matching my pace. Step, step, step. Every time I stopped walking, the footsteps stopped too. But when I started moving again, so did they. I kept walking until the trees finally started thinning out. My truck was maybe 200 yards away. That's when I heard my name one last time. But this time, it came from 2 different directions. "Caleb. Caleb." I didn't look back. I ran the rest of the way to my truck, jumped inside, and locked the doors. As I started the engine, I looked toward the tree line. For a second, I thought I saw something standing between the trees. Tall, thin, watching. I never hunted in that part of the forest again, but the weirdest part happened 2 weeks later. I was cleaning my rifle when my phone rang. It was my friend Eric. He sounded shaken. He told me he'd been hunting in the same forest, same area, and just before sunset, he heard someone calling his name from the trees. The voice sounded exactly like his own.